Why should clients update us as to what's happening?
You have a solicitor that doesn't like to speak to agents. I can't give you any update. Get your solicitor instructed straight away. Stops any hiccups or anything further down the road. From the point the memo is sent, your solicitor can send a draft contract.
You are thinking of selling your house at the moment. What are your 3 tips to try and improve this process going forward to any potential client that's thinking of moving? Hi, Chris from Harrison's Homes, and this is the next episode of Beyond the Sale. So one of the topics we wanted to talk about today was the whole process of when we actually get a sale agreed, as it's quite a pressing topic at this moment in time. So what happens after the sale is agreed, which is obviously termed as sales progression in our industry. So we're going to start our first question, Amber. So we had down here, managing clients' expectations. Why is this important, would you say, when dealing with a transaction?
Because if you've got a seller who wants to be moved within 2 months, but a buyer who can't, because of whatever reason, move for 4 months, you can't just go ahead and think that everything's going to happen hunky-dory and it's all going to go ahead. Somebody's going to be disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to get the expectation from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
When you're taking offers. That's what we do. We always ask if there's any time expectations, and then keep everyone updated throughout the process. So you need to manage the expectation of all of them.
And do you think this is something that's happening at the moment within a estate agency? Because I know obviously what we do, but have you encountered any issues that you've found?
Yeah, definitely. We have a chain at the moment, quite a few people in the chain. I had to unfortunately tell my buyers that it wasn't going to go before stamp duty, because I looked at the chain, multiple mortgages, about 12 people, just it wasn't going to happen. But I received an email from another estate agent who had told her client that there's a possibility we might be able to go through.
That's interesting. So why do you think that agent's potentially then given their client the expectations that it will go through? What do you reckon the...
I think there's 2 reasons.
Mm-hmm.
One, nobody likes to tell anyone else bad news. I don't like it, but I have to do it because it's my job.
Yep.
And second thing is maybe not being trained on it, not knowing what's going on. Like, I was able to look at the chain and just see from everything that was left outstanding, there's no way that all of it's going to be tied together in order to exchange before that date. It wasn't going to happen. But if you don't have the experience in that, you might not be able to see all those pointers.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point, because I actually encountered this a few years ago, as we were just talking there, that I had a client knocking on my door when we was in COVID times, and it was a really interesting scenario where he came down to me and he was saying to me that he reckons his agent had been telling him it was going to be completed in October, then November, then potentially December, and going back then, it was never actually going to happen. So he said to me, what do you reckon is going to happen? I think it was around November. And he said, I need to be moved in before Christmas. And even though he wasn't my client, I pretty much basically said to him, it's never going to happen. He said, well, I need it to happen. I went, well, I'm not going to tell you something that's not. And he said, well, why is the other agent telling me? I went, got no idea. Yeah. But it's not going to happen because of X, Y, Z. Now, again, I actually exchanged numbers with him, even though he wasn't my seller. And I was updating him as I was with every other client in the chain. But I don't know, I think it was spot on there, to be honest, because I think it is a lack of experience and nobody likes to give bad news. But from my experience there personally, all that client wanted to know was what was happening. Yeah. So I think it's a really, really good point. Now, I've said this a number of times now, that there seems to be this huge brick wall between estate agents and solicitors, and you've hit the nail on the head in regards to agents not understanding how the whole process works. And I think that's an issue from the estate agency side of things, is the people sometimes that I experience are people or agents there that actually haven't moved themselves, so they don't know the stresses that actually go through when you're actually buying a house. I know you bought a house and it actually went through quite well, which is another point we'll go on to later on of who you should use. But yeah, it is an issue, and obviously when recording this was at the point where we had a stamp duty deadline end of March, and the job for me personally, it's literally a love-hate relationship with the job at the moment. Like 1 minute I'm hating it because of X, Y, and Z, and next thing you know, we get it through, and it's just like, awesome, I love this because you've made a difference. And then I've seen a lot on LinkedIn and very social media posts where a lot of agents are attacking solicitors and conveyancers at the moment. Why do you think we should defend conveyancers and solicitors?
They're trying everything they can.
Mm-hmm.
I've had emails this week. Chris has banished me to the back room so I can deal with everything and get everyone through. But I've had emails from people at 5 a.m. I've had emails from sisters at 9:30 at night. They are working crazy hours just to try and get things through for people. So being hounded every day and everything like that from estate agents, from their clients, it's not helpful. Yes, chase them. We need answers. But 45 emails in one day or something like that, it's not going to be helpful. They're going to be deleted.
Yeah, and I think the problem that I see at the moment is hundreds of deals that are reliant on this going through. And I've had a conversation today with a client, and he said, well, what the hell is going on? And I was like, well, at the end of the day, I can't give you an update yet. I'm not going to keep chasing, purely because if I'm chasing, you're chasing, clients are chasing, other agents are chasing. You've got about 1,000 odd people here that are chasing the conveyancer every single day. And every time they have to respond to an inquiry, that means they're actually not working on the file themselves.
Yeah.
So this is a key issue. But also as well is it's, again, going back with managing expectations and defending conveyances, obviously we've had a scenario recently where the client had given authority to exchange, yet they told our seller's solicitor that they hadn't had authority. And this is a real struggle from my point of view, when I've got a seller here that he was really under pressure to get the deal through. Yet he's being told one thing and then we're telling him another, and then it looks like, unfortunately, people are lying. And again, I think this is the real tricky part, because then it leads on to our next question is, why should estate agents and conveyancers work together? So I'll throw that back to you.
It would just help. Obviously, there are solicitors and estate agents that got on well. We have our own solicitors that we use, that when we do ask for updates, we get them hopefully within the day, but at least we get an answer. But there are some solicitors that won't answer estate agents. So I understand estate agents can be pushy. They can be annoying sometimes, especially if they don't have the experience. Like we mentioned earlier, if they don't understand.
I think sometimes with most it's just a tick box exercise. Yeah. Has this been done? Has this been done? Has this been done? When they actually don't know what actually they're asking.
Exactly, yeah. But I think it's just, if we work together and everything, that it would just make it a hell of a lot smoother. And you can update people on either sides.
Yeah.
One of my files I currently have has a company on my buyer's and my seller's side. That company refuses to speak to any agent bar their referring agent. So I have to get all of my updates from a different agent for a house that I'm selling. That's not helpful when my client's calling me asking me what's going on.
Yeah.
I can't answer it.
Yeah, it is an issue. I don't know, again, if there's any conveyancers sort of listening to this at the moment. It's a case, I think one of the things that we're on the front line. I think sometimes when, and again, I'm only quoting here from what I've been told by clients, is they run their conveyance and they can't actually get through to the conveyancer. Again, defending them, they're actually probably working on your file. But if they can't get through to them, the next step is calling us, and we generally answer the phone every single time.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult there. And I think the key thing for me, and I've said this right along like the last couple of weeks here, is I know that they're going to be struggling. And I've said to a couple, it's like, lean on me to do some chasing. So if you need me to chase a contract or deliver a contract or anything along those lines, then lean on me to actually do that, and then you don't have to worry and you can concentrate on what you want to do or what you need to do.
Yeah, definitely. Like, if the client's chasing us, fair enough, it puts more pressure on us. But it's less pressure on the solicitor, so they can actually work on the file, and we can just chase them once. If they respond to us that once, we have the answer for everyone, instead of 3 different people all contacting the same solicitor at the same time about the same file.
Yeah.
It would just work better.
Yeah, definitely. So we've got down here, why should clients update us as to what's happening?
Well, to start, if you have a solicitor that doesn't like to speak to agents, I can't give you any update on anything. So if you can update me, I can help push it through. But also just for us to keep an eye on everything, know exactly where everything is at all times, basically. Be able to say to the solicitor, I heard this has happened, like, is this correct? Anything like that. It just keeping us updated helps us push it through.
Yeah. Why should you instruct the solicitor from the outset? Even if, and again, when we talk outset, are we talking when sales agreed?
No, I think especially if you're a seller, having your solicitor instructed when you put your house on the market helps.
Yeah.
Most cases will go through easily, absolutely fine once an offer's been accepted. But there are a few there that they're a little bit more tricky, and you don't find out they're tricky until you've instructed your solicitor and they find something that could be a potential problem.
Yeah. Could you sort of give me an example of a potential problem there?
Yeah, I had recently somebody that owned the property by himself.
Really?
We got it sold. He then instructed his solicitor, and we found out that while he was the sole owner currently of the property, his mum and dad also used to own it with him.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they have passed away, but he didn't have the correct documents to provide to the solicitor in order to prove that, and that he had the right to sell the property. It's delayed it by a good 3 to 4 weeks, trying to get these from the council. Had he have instructed the solicitor at the point we put it on the market, this could have all been avoided, and it could have gone through a hell of a lot quicker.
No, great advice. And what benefit would you say reservation agreements are doing at the moment in regards to how quickly we're getting deals through? What would you say the benefit is there?
Well, they have the initial term of 90 days, and the clauses of obviously you need to push your solicitor to get things going. Also, you can't hold things up yourself, but you have an option for special conditions. If there's something that a seller or a buyer would have in there that I need to be completed by X date, if that's not met because of something by the other party, it could be a cause for a penalty. Nobody wants to pay a penalty.
No, it's true.
So it's a good motivator, definitely, and that's why they're there, to keep everyone secure and keep it moving as quickly as it can.
Yeah. But obviously, I suppose then, again, going back from the side of defending conveyancers, it's not always on them, is it, at the end of the day? It's always on the client or the clients to then make sure that they are responding either to inquiries or they're producing evidence. 'Cause, again, one of the things that I quickly looked at there is, if you're talking about, if you wait until the sale's agreed, I think you're looking, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before everything starts to really get going, or thereabouts. So that could, you're talking there half a month nearly, that could be shaved off the whole time frame. So if there is anybody at this moment listening to this and they're thinking about how they can actually make sure their deal goes through quite smoothly, let's talk a case study actually, because we've just had one today that we marketed in January. Briarrose. Obviously they followed our strategy. We didn't actually go live with that property. Just run me through what happened with that. We've just exchanged today, which was 5-6 weeks. Yeah. So why do you think that we've managed to get that one through so quickly?
Well, to start with, the seller went with one of our referring agents. I believe he did instruct them from the beginning.
He did. I know he did.
And again, we try and get people to our referring solicitors because we know that they can work quickly and they're very good at what they do. But yeah, they had a good relationship with us. The buyer solicitor was also very good at coming back to us as well. Anytime I need to get hold of the seller or the buyer, if I didn't get hold of them straight away, they'd call me back, keep me updated on what was going on. So everyone throughout the chain is communicating.
Yep.
Granted, there was a first-time buyer and somebody moved abroad, so it wasn't a lot of chain. But everybody communicated, and that's the key thing that needs to happen.
Well, that's then really interesting, because when I was talking about that client earlier on, where you had 2 conveyancers, what didn't help, obviously, just giving a little bit more detail to that actual buyer had 3 conveyancers in the same company. So every time there was a new conveyancer, they had to keep on redoing all the work. That took 5 months, and that was only 2 people.
It was, yeah.
So
I mean, my own sale was only 2 people, and that took 4 weeks, I think. So it can happen.
Yeah.
But everybody needs to be motivated. Everybody needs to communicate and stay on top of it.
Yeah. It's really interesting there, because you talked about referring agents referring agents. Now, obviously, I understand there are some referral fees that we obviously get. Other agents I know get. The way I've always seen it is that, one, it does come off the fee, but I'd never recommend, for me, anybody there that I knew wasn't going to be able to get the deal through. Now, is that the case, would you say, with most?
There are some solicitors that are not the quickest, that obviously some agents do use. Don't want to talk bad about anyone, but that is the case. But it's not always the case. As you said, we do refer to people. Obviously, we would get a referral fee. That's how it works. But we use them because we know they can get it through.
I think, as I said, I'll be quite direct in all this, because I don't mind upsetting people. So I think in some scenarios, and again, I quote what people have told me over my years, is that in regards, and as I said, the referral fee is never added on to what the conveyancer does anyway, but I think with a lot, they work purely on volume, and they are, on paper, cheaper than other conveyancers, some of the ones that obviously we use, yet even though they're cheaper, the referral fee still comes out of that figure, which means they're cheap. And I've never looked at it from the aspect of, if it's too, well, I see, look at it and go, if it's too cheap, then it's obviously too good to be true.
You pay for the service you can.
Yeah, pay monkey, you get peanuts type thing. So yeah, I think this is, and again, I'm not taking away of what they do. I think there's a lot that goes into the conveyancing. I think there's a lot of conveyancers that could certainly increase their fees, but yeah. Right, what are your 3 tips if you were thinking of selling your house at the moment? What are your 3 tips to try and improve this process going forward to any potential client that's thinking of moving?
Get the solicitor instructed straight away. Stops any hiccups or anything further down the road.
Yep.
From the point the memo sent, your solicitor can send and draft contracts.
Yeah. What's a memo? Just in case there are people there don't understand what a memo is.
It's a memorandum of sale. The agent gets the buyer solicitor's details, the seller solicitor's details, highlights any timescales, fixture fittings, so anything that would be left in the property, about if there's an onward chain or below chain.
Yep.
Just the information that solicitors on each side would need to know.
Yep.
And then it gets sent to the seller, the buyer, and both sets of solicitors, they all have the same information.
Yep, great. What else should you have?
And then, so obviously number 1, get sellers instructed straight away. Communicate with your agent, communicate with your solicitor, all of the above.
Yeah.
Everybody communicating, it's a happy world.
Yeah.
And then number 3 is the reservation agreements.
Yeah.
It, from the start, secures your sale, has some time limits in it that helps keep it moving quickly, and it does have that penalty if somebody's not.
And also as well, one of the things that we've also forgot to mention is obviously it's got all of the upfront information about the property, so the questionnaire. So the way that I see this is the more informed a buyer is from the outset, the less likely they are going to fall through, or it's going to fall through. So that's another benefit as to the reservation agreement. So great. Perfect. Should we just freelance and speak about anything else at the moment? Is there anything else that's pressing that you feel would be valuable to anybody?
I don't think so right now.
No?
No.
No
Why
worries.
do you need a little closing statement?
We do. So, thank you for obviously listening to this week. As I said, we are going to be becoming a little bit more consistent with this. What we would love to be able to do is add more and more value to certainly our community, and if there is anybody there that's thinking of moving, that hasn't got a clue or just wants a bit of advice, we would love for you to actually send in an email or click on the link here and send through to us, because again, I've been doing this for a number of years. I feel I believe I know what people need to know, but again, generally, it's sometimes those simple things that I look at that are simple that aren't. So if there is anything there that you're unsure of, I'd love to obviously hear from you so we can actually get that into next week's episode. Thank you.